Hello everybody, it's VerticalSandwich. Welcome back to Let's Play Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. Luckily I bought that second controller to play Catherine with myself. Because now I have it, and I have 70 sewer crystals, which means 140,000 bolts. Wow, those guys are kind of hardcore. Also, this weapon is now officially badass. Like, it's a great weapon. Oh, I've got it fully leveled up too. This is as good as it's gonna get. That's a shame. Whoa, guys. There's bullets enough for all of you. I promise. So, we're also running this incredibly long narrative about my, my days of alcoholism and addiction. So, it occurred to me while I was thinking in between videos and setting up new controllers, and since I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing here at all, it had occurred to me that actually my two narratives were connected. That it wasn't ironic that I found kind of an obsession with adventure and freedom, and that I had been a slave to substances. Because on some level, being a kid, growing up in a small town, like, my seeming lack of those things in my life, like, for me, when I was young, those things like, you know, getting high or getting drunk seemed like fun and adventure to me. You know, they answered a very fundamental kind of need for me. That it was, like, exciting to go into this dark place that people hadn't, you know, you're not supposed to go. And that's true. It did that for me. I mean, at least in theory, at first. But then what you don't realize, and this is true, is if you're the kind of person who develops a problem with those things, that it changes you. You know, that what happens is, you know, you spend all of your time being this different person. And you know what I should really do? More than anything, why am I not? Oh, because I can't. I need to buy some of these other weapons, and, I need to get back to guy who gives me money, and buy more weapons, and then come back in here. That's what I need to do. How do I do that? How do I get back to guy who gives me money for these? What you don't realize is, I hate the hitbox for these guys. I really do. That they get close enough to you and this gun won't hit them. What you don't realize is you spend time see, and the cooldown on that weapon is terrible. What you don't realize is that you spend time in, like, an altered state, and when you come out of it, when life forces you to be sober, or you force yourself to be sober, you regret the stuff you did. Okay, I have to take this path. What happens if I warp to another bridge? Where do I end up? Oh, interesting. Anyway, down we go. when life forces you, or you force yourself to be sober, you think about those things that you did and that person that you were, and you feel bad. And eventually what happens is the only escape from feeling that way the only escape from feeling that way is to do more, is to get yourself back into an altered state, right? And it becomes this cycle. It becomes literally this cycle, and you can see it. There's a chart that actually called the Jellinek chart that will show you this cycle of how, you know, your outside of your addiction life gets worse, so your addiction life becomes more of your life, to the point that eventually you have no options anymore. So what is this thing? The flux rifle. I'm not using a lot of flux rifle kind of stuff. And so it's this never-ending kind of spiral of despair and self-loathing that eventually leads you. How do you guys even exist? Oh, because I probably skipped you by doing this. This cycle of despair and self-loathing I do like killing things with things. How did I miss a guy just right off here? This cycle of despair and self-loathing that just makes you have to be in that altered state more often, and then, like, your outside life gets worse, and eventually what happens is you just can't get to a place where being you is okay anymore. That there's no amount of anything that will make being you okay. And that is when you get to a point that, at least in recovery circles. By the way, how many of these? There's 14 of these left. 14 sewer crystals left. In recovery circles, they call it the jumping off point. And the definition of the jumping off point is this: that you can no longer live being sober, and you can no longer live being messed up anymore. And at that point, there are only two options. You either have to get better, or you have to get dead. And it's terrifying. It's a thing, there is no human being in the world I would wish it upon. That's how bad it is. It's that bad. It's hopelessness and despair and awfulness, and yeah, I mean, it's just, there's, like I said, I wouldn't give it to my worst enemy. I wouldn't give it to humanity's worst enemy. Because it's just better. It's just better being, you know, it's... In some ways, it's nicer to wish death on somebody. You know, rather than this kind of horrible living death. Where you would just rather be anything else, you know, than the thing that you are. the thing, is that a lot of people, and a lot of really good people, chase that spiral to the end that is death. And I've seen that. And you know, if there's any part of you that can identify with what I'm saying right now, what you need to know about life and addiction is that if you get sober and you stay sober, it gets better. Even if it gets worse in the short term, it gets better. You can become a normal person again. Like, not a normal person again. You'll never be a normal person again. You will never be a person. How is this not the right way to hit this guy? You will never become a quote-unquote person, like a normal person who has not had the experiences that I am talking about, but you can become a person who would not trade away being who you are, because even the bad decisions you've made have made you what you are today, and that is not a bad thing. And I don't know if I'm making sense talking the way I'm talking right now, and I can't speak to that, whether or not what I'm saying makes sense to you. But if that sense of just despair and like wanting to escape from being you and not being able to, if that makes sense to you, or if what I'm saying about not being able to be sober because of how much you hate yourself, like deep down inside, makes sense to you, you know, sobriety is not, you know, sobriety might be the end of the person you are now, but that can be a miraculous and wonderful thing. It really can. And it takes time, and it takes work. It takes work to stay sober. You know, one of the things people will say while you're trying to stay sober that's completely true is, you know, hanging out in the same places and doing the same things you did while you were, you know, all messed up. They say it's like they say it's like hanging out in a barber shop and trying to never get a haircut. And it's a dumb thing to say that I'm sure is left over from, you know, the community's roots 100 years ago. But it's true. You have to change. A guy once told me, he's like, you only have to change 3 things to stay sober. And he's like, change how you act, change how you think, and change how you feel. And I'd love to tell you that all of those things are not completely different about me now today, but they are. And I know the obvious thing you say is like, how do you change how you feel? And the answer is, it's a byproduct of changing how you think. When you think about your feelings and you realize that your feelings are not facts, then what you get is this, you get different reactions to the situations in which you have to live. I think I hear one of those big guys. I mean, I know there's a wall that should produce one of those big guys that I think we're missing in this area. I mean, I don't know. We're down to 9 of these things at this point. So that's my message to anybody who who is suffering. Is that there, you know, there's a way out, and that way out leads to a better place. And it doesn't have to be the way it is. And one other thing I want to say about my personal experience with addiction, which is not a universal thing. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the rudiments of my experience are universal. Everybody who suffers through addiction has, I'm sure, can find common ground and can find something to relate to in my story. But one of the things, and this is a thing that of all the things I'm going to say, this is the thing I've heard echoed through other people I've seen who obviously have lives that are falling apart. And that is, you know, I thought the world picked on me. Like, I didn't understand why the world treated me like someone who was addicted to stuff. Like, I didn't understand why, like, cops stopped me and people thought I was lying and stuff like that. And the answer is, I taught the world how to treat me. And somebody once told me that being an addict, or an alcoholic is like, that your self-esteem, the best way to sum it up is that you feel like you believe that you're the piece of crap that the universe revolves around. And that's true. It's so true. You personally think that you're worthless, but you don't understand why the world doesn't treat you like you're valuable. And the answer is, the world will treat you, you know, though in your head you have the best of intentions. You think you're this nice person, and you just want the best for everybody, and like, you wish that things were different, and stuff like that, but the outside world can't know that. All the outside world has to judge you on is your actions and what they see, and what they see is, you know, what I'm talking about. Is, you know, addiction and alcoholism and lies. And so they treat you that way. They treat you like a criminal who lies. Because that's the thing you are. Or at least that's the thing I was. I mean, I can't speak for you. I gotta speak for me. These other hidden areas probably have about 5 apiece in them, and that would get us to the... So we gotta go straight here. So, I mean, that's the truth in my situation. That was what the experience was like, living as, you know, me living as, and being an addict. And I can't prescribe behavior, or I can't ascribe behavior to you. I can't tell you how you feel about you. And I can't tell you what your life experiences are like. I can tell you that recounting how I felt about myself is a thing that has brought me to silent tears during this. That, like, talking about this has made me... Well, they're not going to be silent tears at this point. I'm really starting to tear up now. I mourn for the people who did not have the outcome I did. Because I know that there was a point in my life where I thought that the people who knew and loved me would be better off if I were dead. And I know that I was right. And that's a hard thing to say. That had my outcome been that I continued to suffer in my addiction and made the choices I had been making, that it would have been better for them to see me die quickly and unambiguously than watch me suffer through a slow death from addiction. And that's a hard thing to say. And don't get me wrong. I mean, in retrospect now, I mean, I've really gotten my stuff together, and I don't think that I can say the same thing now. But, man, I was not a pretty person. That's the thing, is that, and when I tell people today that, like, I have those issues, and I tell people all the time, like, I am not shy about, I work with a lot of guys who are on work release from jail, and I tell every single one of them, because I want them to know that I will not judge them. And when I tell them that, like, the response I get a lot of the time is people are just like, well, I can't imagine that you ever had a problem. And I'm like, I had a classic problem. Like, when you imagine somebody with, like somebody who is, like, an alcoholic, like, the kind of person who, you know, like, lives under a bridge or something, like, that's the kind of problem I had. Don't ever fool yourself that I was going through a phase, or that things were, you know, I was a 6 foot tall guy who weighed 120 pounds when they forced me to go into treatment. Like, it was killing me. I was white as a sheet. Like, without a doubt, I would not have survived. I had bleeding ulcers. It was awful, and I thought it was going to kill me, and I was fine with that. They forced me to get help. And those things are striking statements for a human being to make about their own state of mind. Is that I was sure it was going to kill me, and that was okay. That's a very sick place to be. But that's where I was. That's where I've been. I mean, I do have to say, it makes my life now far more liberating. I mean, it does. It really does. When I have a bad day, I can just look back and go, this day is not so bad. Like, I've had worse days. And I have, without a doubt. My worst day now literally is probably better than my best day 16 years ago. Not probably, it is. Okay, we have one more area to at least do a cursory examination of before we give up. Yeah, this is about what we want to do. So yeah, I mean, and that's the unvarnished truth about how I felt about myself and the kind of person that I was. That those things are all true. I couldn't make them up. I couldn't. That, I mean, oh man, I would have rather been anybody but me. And now now there's nobody there's literally nobody I would rather be. I mean, it sounds like you're like, oh, haha, yeah, like, oh, that's so cliched. Yeah, but it's true. And that's an amazing statement to be able to make it for a person who doesn't have issues with substances, you know? It's an amazing statement for anybody to be like, well, there's nobody I would rather be. No, there's literally nobody I would rather be. I really love being me. I have a lot of fun. Like, living in my head is like living in an amusement park. It's great. I don't know that I don't know that there are a lot of people who would rather, you know, who would rather have the vertical sandwich experience rather than their own life, but certainly I love it. I think it's a hoot. And there are not a lot of things I'm afraid of anymore. Like, I've been to a point where I'd accepted my own inevitable death from my own behavior. I did not think that there was hope for me. And I was okay with that. And like I said, I wouldn't wish that state of mind on anybody. Which, by the way, we're running a long video. We're running a long... Well, I suppose at this point, we know we're in an area we haven't been to before. Because we're seeing sewer crystals. And we're getting close. I mean, I suppose I could do the thing. Whoa, hey, buddy. I suppose I could do the thing where when I find sewer crystals, I just show you the map in post-commentary. And we can talk about this then. I mean, because it'll be post-commentary. Well, but if we post-commentary, I record way later. I mean, I never record. I record post-commentary before I process the video. And I'm going to record, you know, all that other stuff. Oh, I still have, like, this guy. This guy. I can't get to him this way. I have to be up here. 26 minutes. I mean, we can just go nuts with the amount of time we're going to spend on this, right? Wait, how do I get to this guy? I guess this is what we're affectionately calling him now. This guy. Okay, there's this guy. And I have to make like a series of lefts. Yeah, this'll do it. This'll get me to that guy. Little guy got me. Alright, 10. That means there's 4 left. We have 4 sewer crystals left in this entire sewer. And... man, I mean, it could be just big monsters appearing out of areas we haven't walked through. I mean, we don't have to have giant green walls as indicators of these big monsters, and that's a problem. But I mean, I suppose I go where these guys are, right? And I look for things that I haven't seen before. Like, I have to find hallways that have Tyrannoids in them. Or sewer crystals. And I'm definitely going to have to speed up this video, which is crazy. I probably shouldn't. I should probably stop, because I should probably run this video at the length it is because of the narrative. Because at least it felt powerful for me. I don't know if hearing it will feel the same. So when I come back, we'll probably be doing this in post. So, bye everybody.